But yeah, dude, I mean the Rick I love the Rick Rubin podcast. I mean, you
Yeah.
totally turned me on. I didn't really know who he was or anything like that before you gave me his book,
Yeah.
and just like the creative act, and I mean, it's so sick. And then just like then I started listening to more of his podcasts, and like seeing him more and stuff, and just hearing his perspective and learning more about who he is,
Yeah.
too. I feel like he was kind of like really big during the whole like vibe coding, like when the vibe coding term first came out, and
100%.
he was one of the people like on the face of that, and so
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
cool, like just this combo of like music and art and technology. He kind of like is sitting in the middle between. Now he's doing interviews with Gary Tan and like
Yeah.
and Dave from the Founder podcast and all that, and so it was so
100%.
sick.
What did
Was there
you
anything from that clip that you? I mean, what did you like about it? What do you think about it?
So yeah, I liked from the clip because he was talking about how he doesn't really want to show up every day. Like he has to
Oh
fight
yeah,
against
yeah,
that resistance to show up, even
yeah,
though he really enjoys being there. Like once he's there doing the work, he really enjoys it and there's like magic happening. But I feel
yeah.
like Rick Rubin talking about the struggle, because I almost view Rick Rubin as like this wizard where
Right.
he's just like puts his hand out and like something cool gets created.
Yeah,
But the fact that he's facing the resistance, I think, is cool too. But yeah,
yeah.
you listen to the pod. So what's your take on the whole pod?
So sick. It's so
Yeah,
cool because I'm still like learning more too about. I mean, this podcast. I've listened to a bunch of his podcasts, the telehedron or tetrahedron
yeah,
or
yeah,
I
yeah.
forget like how you say it, but that's
Tetragrammaton.
yeah, tetragrammaton. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so sick. Like what? So creative and everything. The name of it, everything, the brand of it. And this one was Dave, like the founders podcast guy, interviewing him. So I got to hear way more of Rick Rubin's background and story than I normally did, and just hearing about how he's worked with like like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and like in
yeah,
Eminem, and he's talking about how Eminem's like this grinder and like how there's different styles of artists,
right.
how some people like they need that grind mode to get there, like that David Goggins mode, like grind mode to get there to create the music, and like
Yeah,
more just get in the studio and grind it out and just do that until like the magic happens. In that there's some people where they're still very driven by work ethic, and work ethic is always important, but that it's more like a flow, like more like natural kind of a thing, like when it just happens with them versus like they don't need to like grind. It's just like, but I love this perspective about how you can kind of just reach it in multiple ways. That same kind of outcome. I think it's a lot like, people being successful in their companies, or people being successful in the way that they're implementing AI in their personal lives or their professional lives. It's just, there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's not like one single specific way that you have to do it.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
both athletes. Like there's not one specific way that you have to train or like be successful. You
for
hear
sure.
about plenty of athletes that are like their grind mode, like super hardcore, like Michael Jordan style. And there's some that are like, more in the flow, like kind of more zen with it and like really like feeling it out and everything. And I feel like there's just different ways to reach that same outcome, which is, it's
100%.
so interesting to, yeah.
Did he give any insight into how to access that for yourself, like how to figure out which
Yeah.
type of person you are?
Yeah, I feel like it didn't, not really. I feel like he didn't really focus too much on that part about like how to kind of find that yourself or like what that right balance is kind of yourself and everything. I think that it was, he was mostly focusing on it about like just that you gotta, just something that only you can really do that for yourself, like go on that journey for yourself and kind of feel out, like realize like what works for you and
Yeah,
what doesn't. And I think it's totally this type of thing, where you just, I feel like that's so true. I feel like I like that I think that people would want, I kind of wanted him to just like, okay, what's the playbook? Like, just give it to me,
yeah,
Rick Rubin, just tell me what to do. Because it's less like kind of work, but he puts the work kind of on us. And he's like, okay, like you got to figure it out yourself. I can't give it to you,
yeah, yeah,
but there are lots of different ways to go. And that really the only way that you can move closer to that is just by trying.
for
And
sure.
I think it's a lot like with our sport, with our careers as athletes. Like you have to just try and you learn a little bit, you get feedback, and you just try again, and you
Yeah,
keep on going. And that's the only way where you start to learn like your style, like
yeah,
as a
yeah,
golfer, like how you like to train and everything like that, and like what works for you, and like your mental game, all that. But it's only through these, like you have to start. And I think it's similar with AI too. Like you have to just start, like you have to
yeah,
just start using the tools to like understand the texture of it and be like, okay, this works well for my workflow and like my business and the way that we work and our customers and everything. But you
yeah.
won't know until you actually just start. So
100%. Yeah, that's so true. How do you, because I envision, well, I think of you as a creative person. But then you also have like the kind of grind, go hard mode. But I also think like I think of a lot of creative people as like the Rick Rubin. He's sitting with his
Yeah.
legs crossed on the chair, like drinking this yerba mate. Like
Yeah.
he's got the beard. Like I feel like that's
Totally,
how a lot
man.
of creative people I think of are. Like how do you kind of pair those two? Because you're doing sprints for training workouts, but then you're also
Yeah.
having to make creative copy for your clients.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks, dude, so much. I mean, I feel like everybody has like kind of that like blend in them a little bit, like a little bit of that like yin and yang. They have those different sides to them about like these different. They have that creative kind of spirit, inside of
Yeah.
them, and they also have like that mode that can be like, all right, I just gotta like lock in and get it done, and like this is gonna suck. I'm just gonna grind through it, and it's so. I mean, I love that. I mean, what you were mentioning about the clip, that you watched and that resonated with you, and that was cool how like he seems like this person who's just always kind of in the flow, like he's
Yeah.
always in zen mode, like he's never like struggling or like it's just like he loves to be there, like he just
Yeah.
is in the flow just doing it. Like it seems like he's like that, but he's actually not. Like no, there is like some like resistance to it sometimes. And like I have like a studio session planned out with somebody. He's like, but he wakes up and he's like, like it would just be nice to just sleep in or just to like go for a walk on the beach or whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that he does have those thoughts. You have to like overcome that.
For sure.
Um, and I think that like how he was describing it of him being in the studio and everything like that, I have felt like that same kind of tension that it's not always one thing, like in my like training or like my like studies like in school like of being an engineer like of working like at different companies I've worked at, or of like being an athlete and like going out to practice, or going out to a meet, even to a competition, like sometimes I'm like amped to compete, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like this is gonna be a battle, and like
Right.
so
Right.
I'm kind of like nervous for it and everything. I don't
Yeah.
really want to like, so there's like it depends on, I think, just different things. And like I've felt the same thing with what I'm doing like on the creative side, like if I'm making like a new like site or like design or like a video or a reel, like I a lot of times when I first started posting like on our Prism kind of account, like we share these like short posts for like founders and athletes, and I've kind of first started doing it just because I liked it a lot, but there
Yeah.
were like days where I would notice like one day I'd be like super fired up and excited to like go and like look for these clips and go and like edit them and go and like try to whittle them down like to make those posts. And
Yeah.
then sometimes I would just be like really not about it. Like I would just be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. There's like other things I need to do. And it
Yeah.
just feels like a grind to have to go and like look for these clips. Like, why am I going to do these clips? And why am I even like going to do this? Like, this is not like highest ROI thing.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah. So I feel like that's part of the tension, I feel that in like all my stuff. Like one day I'm just having the best, like most time ever, like coding on my surfing app, and then
Yeah.
the next day I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's just a grind. Like I don't want to have to push these changes and stuff
For
and do
sure.
this. So
No,
that's
I
just kind of
so
how
I
I.
so agree. I feel like a big problem. I was reading an Aaron Levy quote recently
Yeah, yeah,
about on his Twitter, where he
yeah,
was talking about like CEOs, how some people who aren't in the weeds of building stuff with AI, like they'll build something and they'll say, "Oh, I can vibe code a CRM in 20 minutes," but then
yeah,
getting that CRM like to production is where the hard part is. And I
yeah,
feel like that's where you face a lot of the resistance is like moving from now this kind of proof of concept thing into actual production.
yeah.
So
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
like that's such a key point is a lot of people are thinking they're going to wake up and just roll out of bed ready to fire away because like that's what kind of got it started, getting ready to fire away on it. But then you got to kind of traverse through that valley of pain. But then sometimes like in the work itself, it's fun too, I mean,
Yeah,
like once
absolutely.
you get into the flow, it can still be fun.
Yeah.
But like it's such a battle, like a grinding the gears to get started.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But yeah, I
100%,
mean,
man.
I need to focus on that as well. I mean, because with AI, you can start so many projects
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
just have so many tangents going. Like you have like 50 plus projects on the table and
yeah,
you're like, oh, I really don't want to push this other one to completion. I just want to go
yeah.
start this other one.
Totally. Yeah, totally,
So
man. Totally.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that resonates, but it seemed to be
Oh,
similar to what you were talking about with Rick Rubin.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's such a wild, yeah, it's so wild how, I mean, there's so many different ways to use the tools and everything like that. You can start really like easily, and you can spin off a lot of projects and things like that and ideate really quickly. I love how you can like do that and just go through a lot of ideas and everything. And
Yeah.
I wonder, so like my experience of things really is like, I mean, I travel and stuff like that for like my track like meets and everything, but for the most part, like I try to be like locked in like at the command center here, like in front of
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
desk
Yeah.
and like everything just like with I have like a laptop on the side here that's like running like codecs on it right now and like it's debugging like an iOS app. So I just like always have these things.
Right.
But you were just recently you were traveling for work, this past
Yeah.
week and everything like that. And I would love if you could tell us like more about what the like work and what's it like traveling, and like how are you using like AI as you're traveling, and like what do you notice, like is it helping with your travel, is it like helping you with you like to be productive while you're traveling, and I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
hear about like the trip and everything and how what you're up to and all that, so yeah,
Yeah,
like
I,
but
I
start
appreciate the
there.
question, man. So for context, like I'm running sales at Mach One right now, and we're doing a lot of in person trips. So I was recently in Pittsburgh, and basically I use a lot of AI to plan these trips. And I think what's really interesting about AI is that and exploring how it helps you plan trips is you can really see how artificial intelligence on your computer kind of pairs with the real world and helping optimize like a real trip. Because my job is to basically talk to people who want to buy Mach One. And
Right.
previously, it was really hard. Like I started before I'd have like a Google search window and a CRM or something like that, and I have to be like, okay, how do I meet with the right people? But with AI now, it's like, okay, there's however many millions of people in these states, and I got this idea from Hormozy actually. Like a lead in reality is just someone walking down the street. Like they might be associated with some type of company of some sort, and there's a small chance that any random person on the street wants to buy your product. So really, the goal is like, how do I meet with as many of these people as possible? And I think
Yeah.
AI has allowed me to do that in a much more efficient way. Like figure out, okay, of the thousands of companies in Pennsylvania and Ohio, which ones do I want to even try to meet with? And then of those companies, which are the people I need to try to meet with? And then once I have that small list of people, okay, now what do I even say to them to try to get to meet with them? So I talked to like, I think I talked to 14 or 15 people in Pennsylvania. And all of those people were pretty optimized for like, okay, this person was a pretty good person to talk to. And yeah, I think that's just cool. A cool thing about AI is that
Yeah.
it can really help optimize your life in the physical world. And another thing that I thought was interesting is like I was on a plane on the way back, and they
Yeah.
give you free Wi-Fi to text. And basically, I was like, "Oh shoot, I don't really want to be texting the whole flight." But I was like, "Oh, my OpenClaw is hooked into my Telegram, so I can just
Oh
go do
shoot.
work. I can just go do my work from my Telegram." And so I just was basically I did the work of a bunch of CRM work, a bunch of like updating contacts from the trip. I was doing a bunch of research on Telegram because it's synced it up to all my work stuff. And so I felt like that was a bit of a cheat code to bypass the rules of like plain Wi-Fi,
Oh my
which
god, that's
which
awesome.
is wild. But I don't know if you have this thought too, but I thought it was so interesting. I knew I was communicating with my laptop in San Francisco, whereas before, like when you're talking to ChatGPT, it's really abstract of like, oh, I don't have no idea which data center I'm talking to. But like
Right.
knowing that I was talking through this device in on my desk in San Francisco, something was just different. I don't know. I don't know.
So wild, man.
Yeah.
It is like, you and I, like, we've been working in this. Like, we've been working in this and been using these tools, like, for the last few years and everything like that. And it's
Yeah.
still, like, it's like mind blown, like, all the
Yeah.
time. Like, I feel like we're both having our mind blown all the time. Like, it's like magic,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like, and you understand, like, what's happening underneath it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so wild. And it's so cool, like, to hear how you're using that. I mean, with with your traveling and everything. And I feel like
Yeah.
that is one of the things that just is going to like create this really amazing world, is like having a bunch of people that, they have something that can really help people, like a product or service, and they're looking for people that would be good or like could benefit from it.
Yeah.
And then that helps the people that like get that solution, like then the right kind of things are getting to them and everything like that. And just, I feel like it's just going to help progress everything. And that's one of the things that'll help with AI adoption, but also like, learning about other cool, really cool and new products and services and things. And
For
I
sure.
mean, and the OpenClaw thing is really cool too, that you got that set up and everything. I don't know that you had that set up last time we were talking and all that. So it sounds like you had it set up, like you have like your laptop kind of running like or
Yeah.
plugged in all the time at home. And then
I just dusted
okay.
off an old laptop and set up
Nice,
OpenClaw
yeah.
on there. I felt
Nice.
like I was missing out without having it, and talking to you where you have like two Hermes agents and two OpenClaws
Yeah.
running on and your Mac Mini and everything. I was like, all right, it's kind of time. So,
I
yeah,
hear you.
but
So you're using it
yeah,
for like CRM stuff and everything. Did you connect it to the Notion and like all that, or like what is it
yeah.
doing right
So it's
now?
connected to some Notion pages. I need to connect it to more.
Okay.
And I also loaded in like our company brain into
Oh,
Notion, so
nice.
it
Yeah.
has access to that. And so you can just do different types of things like query, update the contacts database. For example, what I was doing like after I met with certain people is I was just recording Telegram voice kind of notes and saying, "Hey, I met with this person. Go update the notes
That's
on them."
awesome.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like another thing that's cool that I was thinking about is like the AI's ability to turn unstructured data to structured data is so key. And a prime example of that, I think, is like when you're talking to your AI and you say, "Hey, I met with this person. Like, this is what we talked about." And then you say, like, "Hey, follow up in a week." It'll turn
Yeah.
that into like a task data type in Notion. And then now when I flip open my task database, now it's just there. So I'm not sifting through like the notes and stuff. It's like structuring that data, which I think is so valuable when set up
Gosh.
properly.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Like it makes it
yeah,
easier for humans to use and like other AIs to use too. That way that it's structured and everything like that. Like everybody can get the full advantage of it.
yeah.
It's such
So
a huge unlock. It's so sick.
yeah, yeah. So I know you're obviously a huge power user of OpenClaw,
Yeah,
Hermes, and things like
yeah,
that.
big
Like,
time.
what are you getting the most value from? Would you say from those agents? Because I know you're a big Codex
Yeah.
user, Claude Code, etc.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's so fun. It's just so amazing, like how like what everything they're able to do. And I feel like these teams are, it's really wild to see them competing now. Like I think that we're seeing this kind of like in frontier AI land of like Anthropic and Claude teaming up with SpaceX and fighting OpenAI, and you have Google and they have their AIO event, and there's like these titans clashing in that kind of realm, but also like in these other kind of sub layers of the technology, there's
Yeah,
totally like these similar kind of battles going on there too. Like with the whole like agentic framework, how like Peter Steinberger and OpenClaw are kind of pioneered that and invented that kind of. And then this new company, Hermes Agent, like I think it's like Norris Research or something like that is the name of their company. And like so they have this newer like better version that's written in like Python instead of TypeScript and everything like that. And it's like a little bit of like a different approach and all of that, but that it is a similar kind of thing. It's like a riff or a remix on this agent framework. And this is something now, Hermes Agent, I think, is one of the first companies to spring up in it, but there's going to be this ongoing going kind of battle, of that agent framework and what's the right way to build it, and the different like
yeah,
technical trade-offs, like that you do and everything and what's important for those. And then you have these players that are kind of like in between, I think, those layers, of like the Google and OpenAI and everything. Like Perplexity, I feel like is kind of in that middle layer with Perplexity Computer, how like they kind of float in between the two things, and like Cursor too. I think they kind of float like these companies. I think it's super fluid right now, but it's just so exciting that like it's intense everywhere, like in the whole AI stack, everywhere you look. I mean, even like on the hardware level, like Cerebras, this company Cerebras IPO'd this week, and it's just amazing. And then SpaceX is IPOing and all this stuff, and they're doing on more of the hardware side as well. And so
yeah.
there's just this fierce competition on every single layer of the stack, and so everything's getting way, way, way better. And in terms of the stuff like that, that's like driving the most value, I think for me, it's being as an owner, like a CEO of our company Prism, and there's increasingly, just like you're saying, there is so much data like about the business. And if you're doing your job right as like a founder, like a CEO, the business is growing. And so there's like more and more new data all the time. You know, you're like hiring new people, you're bringing on new customers, like creating new partnerships and things like that. And like, it's like, oh my God, it's so wild. And then now you have like, you know, tens or hundreds or thousands of AI agents, you know, working and specializing on different things. And so it's like, how do you keep track of all of this kind of stuff, right? And that is the thing that I have loved using OpenClaw and I mean, Hermes agent for some kind of things, but OpenClaw has been really, really good for me on that sense of just being kind of this like overall orchestration layer that is connected to any kind of data touch point that we have in our business. So like for us, we do like a lot of like on the web development side, like a lot of things like for like, you know, Vercel and GitHub and Sentry, like on the technical kind of tracking to make sure like nothing goes down, there's no bugs, and there's, you know, like there's tens of thousands of new people using our products every single day, like of all the different websites that we have that Prism is like managing and running. And so there's like, you know, all these people but things break, you know, and that's become an issue for us is like as part of our job is getting more, opening up that volume to get more people using these products and using these websites. But then things start to break, you know, the cracks start to come in like like over the past couple of weeks, we had some issues with like some bugs, not like in crashes, not being reported up correctly, and it just totally being this cascading became a big issue. And so that's one of the things for me, like from a technical standpoint, okay, here's like getting OpenClaw gives me reports with like cron jobs and heartbeats every morning, like a CTO would, like a head of engineering would, about like, okay, here's things are looking healthy. But then I also have it giving me reports about like from a marketing perspective data, like from our Google Analytics or like Google Search Console or Hotjar Analytics, like looking at that data and then putting it in like, okay, it gives me like a stack rank of like, okay, this website did really well this week. You know, this one popped, like the Olympic. We work with Will connected me with this awesome ski and bike shop in Tahoe, and we've been helping them with on their AI side and their technology side, like adopt some of this stuff, and like they've been going crazy. And I got the text this morning from OpenClaw, like, oh my gosh, they're getting a ton of traffic, and so it's fun, like kind of, and I think that's one of the things about. Sometimes, like as a CEO, I think it's hard because there's these layers developed between you and the front lines of the business, you know, and like what's really going on, and those like, and you start to measure by metrics and things. It's just like not as like you're not really have your fingers on the pulse. But for this, it's like I get excited about it, like, oh my gosh, this thing, like this TikTok went viral yesterday, this ad campaign converted really well, or this website's doing well, and I get excited, and I can double down and like and take that, figure out what worked, and then apply it to improve the whole, you know, system. And so OpenClaw is really in that way, like it's like my COO or like or kind of like a CTO. It's like a combination. It's like my partner in crime, like a co-founder almost that I have like working with all these different things.
That is crazy, man. That is insane. I was just thinking, like when you were talking, I mean, it's so cool that like businesses like this can exist now without having to go hire so many people. I don't even want to, I mean, if you want, I'd be curious if you ballpark, like how many star engineers would you need to hire to be running an operation like this?
Dude, it would take a lot, you know, it would take a lot, and it would take a lot more of me. It just think that there's so much like friction. I mean, you and I just like live in this world of like really feeling this friction about like for operators and everything, like and like in a sales process, like in a sales motion, like all the different friction and things like that. And like, how do you like make it just super streamlined, you know, and just make it work super easily? And that's one of the things, because I did live in that world before, like, where I would work with like, you know, like teams of engineers and designers and product people, and we would kind of like piece this stuff together. But it's so much harder when there's like you add more people, there's like, you're talking about it in Slack and over email and stuff, and like and doing meetings, and just it's just too much friction. There's too many like it's too much complexity. And like now it's just like super simple. Like OpenClaw is running on like I was talking to you about this with this whole, I played around with it a little bit, plugging in Opus 4.7 to run OpenClaw. But like I found like the GPT 5.5 with the like XI, you know, reasoning effort is so good. So I switched it back to that. But yeah, it's GPT 5.5 XI is really, really good at, really good at everything that I would need to run my business, and like it's really good at coding, can really do really good research, and it's really good at, but that it but that's the harness around it, I think is really important, like
For
that the
sure.
codex harness is like by far the best harness like on the market right now, and it's just really interesting. This war again of like Claude Code, Claude Code's harness is really, really good too. And now you have like Grok and Grok Build working on their harness. And, it's this Cursor has a great one as well. And so it's a battle for sure. But when you take GPT 5.5 X high and you give it the Cursor harness so it can do like computer use and browser use and all that stuff, and and then it's plugged into OpenClaw, it's like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, man, it can
that's
do
wild.
anything,
That is
I feel
wild.
like it would be hundreds of thousands of dollars of worth of salary, like
Yeah.
hiring people to do this. So,
And like
and
yeah, I mean, like you said too, there's also the lag as well. Like these agents can
yeah,
go do the thing you need right away. Whereas like,
yeah,
and you could do it if you have that stream of consciousness idea, you can just do it. Whereas like you're not waiting for it almost seems like steering a team is like steering a gigantic cargo ship. Whereas like
yeah.
now you're just so nimble and able to do things.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, I love what you were saying about how like, you whipped open Telegram and you're sending voice memos to it, and then
Yeah.
it's going and actually getting it done. Like maybe those would be like other like sub people or like on the sales team or like other parts of the company before that would be going and doing that
Yeah.
updating, for you, and it's just like it just is able to just do it,
For
and it just
sure.
takes away the friction. It's when it's fresh too. I feel like that's so. You and I, we've talked so much and love like Naval Ravikant and all of his
Yes.
ideas and philosophies and everything like that. And I love his thing of like that inspiration is perishable. Like when you have that inspiration, like go and act on it immediately because you might not be like want to do it, in like 5 minutes
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that is so true. Like I mean, and going back to the whole creative part and the Rick Rubin and everything about like getting the best creativity juices. Like sometimes that moment hits you and you want a way to capture it really easily. And
Yeah.
now it's like you can actually capture it and then take action on it immediately, or like give it to something to take action on it immediately.
It's
Like
so true.
so
Yeah.
productive,
Yeah.
right?
So building on top of that, how do you think about the difference between? Because I agree, like I think inspirational is perishable for sure.
Yeah,
But then we were
yeah,
talking about before, like, so you act on it, you get it started, it's so exciting. But usually to get it over the finish line, like it
yeah,
requires some toil. So
yeah.
how do you kind of balance that act, or do you just kind of think inspiration is if you just sit there and go like crank out to the end? That's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do, or how do you think you preserve that, or at least push it over to the end?
Oh, dude, this is a great question. Thanks for asking that. I love that, dude. Yeah, I really think that, I mean, just starting it and like getting the first little artifact built. Like, I'm a big believer in that, So it's like, if it's a new like website or like a new like web app that you want to build or something like that, using a generative tool to like put together a rough interface of it, like use Claude Design or Figma or GPT image or or Google like Nano Banana, and just like put together like some iterate on the interface a little bit and just that idea, and then just take that little nugget and then just store it later, and you
Yeah.
can kind of come back to it. And so my process is like if I get inspired, like I try to go and like put that first little bit together. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
like a transcript, or maybe it's just like an Apple Note, or it's like I have on my phone on the iPhone like action button, I have it set to like my voice memos.
Very
So I literally
cool.
pop that open and I
Very
mean I've
cool.
been doing it. I have
Yeah.
so many voice memos going all the way back to when I was in college, like
Yeah.
just grinding through the engineering, being like, dude, I'm gonna quit this thing. Like it's like a no, it's so funny, like
Yeah.
hearing me in like what was important to me like back then versus now, and like it just now I can do all that. So it's just wild, but that's one of the ways, and that's one of the little things. They're just like, oh yeah, I have an idea, and like just build an artifact. Like
Yeah.
now I have a transcript for it, whatever. In that, just getting that idea like on paper, and then like I use actually like going back to your OpenClaw question, like I use that as kind of another like middle layer for me, because then I have, just like you're saying, it comes a problem. Like I have all these ideas in
Yeah.
all these projects and things like that, and so then it's like, how do you start to like prioritize? Okay, which one of these are actually good ideas that we should do that can
Yes.
really,
Yeah.
which ones can actually drive value for me or my customers, like all these different kind of things, and that fit well from a timing perspective into like what else we're doing. And so OpenClaw runs that. And like for me, the whole brain part of it that it's running is in Notion as well. And so it has like these crazy like to-do lists, and it's like, it's looking at all of that, and then it's constantly managing my to-do list about like what's priority one, priority two, like based on due dates. Because
That is
it's looking at the
crazy, man. That's
meeting transcripts,
crazy.
and email and all that, like all the kind
Yeah.
of communications with, and it can know like what is the priority, and it can be like,
Yeah.
all right, I know you're super excited about this idea, but like we had to do like build out there's a bug on the site we need to fix or whatever, and it will help
That's
me,
crazy. That's so
do
cool.
that. So
That is so cool.
I'm
That
a
is
big fan of
absolutely
OpenClaw for
wild.
sure, and of the agents and of all of this stuff, because I just think that we used to live in the world where before it was so hard to do these kind of things, like to build any of these kind of projects and things like that. And like you were helping me out with like I've been working on this like kind of like a clothing brand, kind of like a fun clothing brand, like big weighted hoodie kind of company, or like
Yeah.
project. And you were helping me with that a little bit, and when we were in Mountain View, and that kind of thing. I mean, it literally just started with like, all right, I'm gonna like put together some Figma designs, and then I put together like a website, and then I could kind of get a little bit further, and then like, okay, now I'm gonna put up an IG page and take photo, and like it just kind of, you keep on, it compounds in like and it's a pretty far along, and so you just got to keep on putting those little nuggets in, I feel like, to push it along. But it's easier than ever to do that, to build those
That
little nuggets. And
that makes so much sense. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, I was thinking a lot what you said about the kind of lessening the friction. I like how you have your
yeah,
action button on your phone just to to
yeah,
capture the voice memo. I mean, I think that any additional step of friction, it just adds so much mental weight,
yeah,
And I was thinking actually in Pittsburgh, I was had a gas car. Like normally we both drive electric cars,
right,
and when you go
right,
charge up, it's such an easy experience because you put in the
yeah,
charger, and like you don't have to think about paying or anything like that. You just put it in. Whereas I was thinking getting gas in a gas car is way worse than charging. And why is that? Because charging takes like 4 times as long. And I think really just the thing is that like you have to get your card out, you have to swipe your card, and it just kind of, there's like these weird, there's like 3 or 4 little tasks you have to do before you can plug the thing. And then you have to like unscrew the cap, and then you have to do all this stuff. And it's such a worse experience. Whereas
yeah.
like with what you're saying, dude, you just get your phone out, press the thing and capture it. And then now your OpenClaw is prioritizing that against like some Vercel bug, and you don't even have to think about that stuff. And you just show up, open up your whole your monitoring situation, and just go do what you need to do. I mean, that makes it so much better. Like,
It's so wild. Yeah, it's
yeah,
so cool. And I feel like I'm able to it helps me be more in the flow, and helps me more stick about like in that kind of place. So just as the ideas come up when it's fresh, and I can work on the next fresh idea. And I'm always like working on in the fresh zone, like in the
yeah,
flow zone. And I feel like hearing you talk about like with your thing of like how you're managing like the CRM and like sending like voice memos to Telegram and it doing
yeah.
that kind of thing is like part of that too. I'm sure like that you have. I mean, I'm curious like what you think when you think about like looking at these different kind of sales processes and like different ways that you've kind of done your job, like if you as you kind of have progressed through your career and everything, like how it's changed and how it's different because of AI now. Because I would imagine like for you, like that a lot of that friction like does start to get like taken out and things like that, and it just makes it easier for you to focus more on the higher level bit, like the most important thing that like
Yeah.
you can like drive the most value for, like the deal that where you can like move it the most closely to the next kind of phase and everything like that. And it just
Yeah.
so you're able to spend your time in I wonder what that fresh zone looks like for you, like are you able to spend your time in that fresh zone? I feel like for me, like it's like with creating and all that stuff, it totally is for
Yeah.
sure. But
No, a
how's that
hundred percent.
progressive been, that
100%.
progression?
I mean, that's a great question. Like I think with sales stuff, there's always going to be some level of like you're dealing with people who have kind of lives of their own. They have
Yeah,
thoughts of their own. You have to sometimes play the political game, things like that. Like you're
yeah,
not dealing with software or things that you can fully predict. So I think it's
yeah,
always a little bit like you don't know if they're going to respond to the email, whatever it is. So there's always
yeah,
some kind of uncertainty in it. But I think there's obviously so much room for efficiency. I mean, you could imagine, like you were saying, a call gets recorded into your CRM. now you know there's a ton of different things that need to happen after that call that takes up time. Like, for example, there's the stat that sales reps only spend 25% of their time talking to customers. And
Wow.
that's
Wow.
strictly because they're updating the CRM. They're figuring out how they can
Mm.
talk to certain people. They're drafting proposals. They're building quotes. They're doing all of these different things. And then at the end of the day, they're only talking to customers for 25% of the time. And I would argue too that a lot of the things don't even get done that should get done. So it probably should be less. It probably should be if reps were actually doing what they were supposed to with like updating CRM and everything pre AI, they would probably only be talking to customers 10% of the time. And I think
Yeah.
now it's really possible to, obviously there's some kind of things, it's like the one-off text here, the call here. So, but I think you can get that number significantly higher because as you were saying, you have your call transcript sitting in the CRM. Now, if the AI analyzes that call transcript after the call in the context of your business, it can go send out a task here for the agent. It can build the proposal here. It can go send the calendar invite for the next meeting. It can go hit up the product team to request this feature. It can go draft the follow up email. It can like remember that they said their kid's birthday was in 2 days or whatever and load that in. And now you have a task to go action that in a couple of days. And I think it's dealing with all these different data types, like and being able to really organize that in an efficient way after the call. I think that's so huge. And then also you start to get this experience of you're walking down the street, like getting insights from your, like you're on the way to a call and you're just talking, you're basically hosting your own podcast with a super intelligent person or super intelligent AI who knows everything about how their business runs and about the person you're talking to. And it's insane. Like because before you'd have to sit in your hotel room, you'd have to like read about this person. You have to, first of all, scrounge for all this data, like go read one off Reddit posts or whatever about this company. Now you're just driving there and you're having this personalized podcast. And then when it's over, you go, because you don't have these recordings in real life, you're going and talking to your AI and saying, hey, like I was saying before, talking to Telegram, recording all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's so much room for efficiency. And then that brings up the question, I mean, do we really need humans doing this at all? But I mean, maybe that's probably a question for 5 or 10 years from now, but there's definitely a lot of sales jobs, I think, that you don't need humans for anymore. But I think enterprise sales, like you still have to kind of go have a beer with them, build rapport and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. That is
But
so
yeah,
wild, the part about how little of it though is normally spent doing that interaction. Like I would like that because that's like, that's the huge, I mean, just that was what I was wondering and you answered that so beautifully. I just like, what is that highest level, like the highest value thing, that you could be doing, and like is AI making it so you can do more of that? And it sounds like
yeah,
it sounds like it is like that it's moving you more in that direction, like that you can spend more of that percentage, like, spending like meeting with customers and everything like that. And that
yeah,
also it sounds like, I mean, the way that you described it, like that percentage is maybe jumping up to like maybe now it's like it's 20, like it was maybe realistically it's 10, that's like 15 or 20. We can like start to open it up a little bit more. But
yeah,
I also think that like the value driven like to the business for each of those little percentages that increases is also getting huger too, because
yeah,
like the AI is helping you be way more effective in that percentage. Like when you're spending time with the customer, like you're saying, like it's arming you like with all these different things. Like you got a whole arsenal of like, it's like, oh yeah, this is what their birthday was, this is what they talked about last time, this is
yeah,
like what's coming up in their company, or they just posted about this thing the other day, so it's top of mind for them, like maybe bring this up, like all, oh yeah, this competitor is doing this, you have all of that at your like fingertips. And so like, what that person was able to do with that 10% before was really not even as much, because they're already juggling all these other things. They don't have that time to prepare like that and to like get access to that data. But now
yeah,
it's like I mean, that 10% could be like so much value, so much value, it sounds like, from the way you're
100%.
describing. That's so cool. So
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. I was curious. So when you're managing all these AIs, like how much time are you spending with the AI? Is it literally 100% of your time? Like you're doing all work with step and step with the AI, or is there some time where you're like, okay, this is full creative mode. I got a canvas where I'm just kind of I'm creating, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's mostly like all. I mean, I try to make it like pretty much all AI too. You know, like I try
Yeah.
to like it's pretty much like if there's some kind of influence or something like that from AI, and like maybe to give like a example, like one of the things I used to do before, like when I was like for making YouTube thumbnail videos, like for this podcast, you guys will probably see like a thumbnail video for, or like a thumbnail for this. And before, what I would do to design that was like I would go and like do like internet, like on Google Images and stuff like that, you know, and grab like different static images of things that I would like want to use on the thumbnail, you know, and I would go into Photoshop and I would like edit those images so they blend together well, and I would like create the kind of thumbnail image and everything. And but it was a little bit of it was a process, right? Because like wasn't sure, like I would have to search it. I'd have some like general idea of like what I wanted to create, but I'd have to look for the right images on Google. Maybe they didn't have
Yeah.
those ones I wanted,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to like adjust the plan, you know, or like, you know, move things around or whatever, right?
And that
But it's
part's not
like,
fun. That part's not fun at all. Like
no.
sifting through photos that don't match what you're looking for is not
Yeah.
fun.
It was
Yeah.
not fun, yeah. Or like, you know, and just all these little elements of things. Like just, I had a very clear vision of like, oh, this is what this thumbnail should look like for this video. Like, or this way, and
Yeah.
like, but it's always like working backwards to try to like get the pieces to do that and get the puzzle pieces to fit together the right way to create that. And now I can create that vision like pretty much perfectly because I
Yeah.
use like like you know Image Gen 2 from OpenAI or Nano Banana from Google, and it's just like you can create that exact thing. Like maybe it's a full background, or maybe it's like a in a very specific art style, you know, or something that fits the brand colors and typography and everything of your existing brand, you know, kit for your company or for
Yeah.
that project or for that video series or whatever. And so you can do, as a creative, it's like you have superpowers. It's way
Yeah.
easier, and then you can also like actually create your vision a lot more like one to one without having all the like friction or like adjusting and things like that. You know, I just think that's like been one of the so it's literally like, and that's how I think about the way that like how thumbnails have changed like that. I think
Yeah.
about that for every single thing that we do now. So like, you know, things like on the like development side of things, and like, you know, like on the coding side and building things out like that way, or like on like the marketing, like writing text out part of things, or strategy side of things, you know, like all of these different like aspects of it. I think that and like, you know, things like finance and accounting too, like all of that. I think that every single company, I think, and every single person in a company should be thinking about how can I use more of these tools in what I do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you just heard like Will talk about all these different things that he's doing like on the sales side, and then like, you know, this stuff on the creative and content side too. It's like, and it is in every single industry, like everything
Yeah.
that you do right now, it can help you with. And that's, I think, people are starting to wake up to and realize that just that this technology is so transformative because it does apply how Will and I are describing it for our things that we like. It applies to like your thing that you like too. You know, like if you're
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
this, listening to it, it's just like it's super super wild, man. So I'm using it for everything, but I feel like,
So
and you're
wild.
pretty heavy on it too. I feel like, huh? Like you're
Yeah,
using it
yeah.
for
I mean,
yeah,
so wild, man. It's so cool when you have it hooked in all these systems, and it almost feels like it kind of is in the groove. Like you know when it grooves in and it really understands what you're trying to
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Versus
yeah,
when it's starting from a blank canvas, it's frustrating because you have
yeah,
to give it so much context. But when it knows already, oh, Enzo, you're working on this project and you're just
yeah,
looking to fill this little void, and it's like, oh, boom, that's what I needed from you. That's like the input I needed from you. And now I'm just
yeah,
going to go run with it, and it's already grooved onto the track, like the train track, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's so wild, like how much it's changed. I mean, the only time I'm not really interfacing with AI now is when I'm literally talking to people. Like
Mm.
every other time, it is me. It's step and step with AI. So I mean, it's
It's so
so wild how much it's changed.
it's so sick.